first thing. He invited them in. And he's always given them just enough equipment to keep the world going on. And he knows if he does that long enough, Russia will win. Now, what the alternatives are, there's a lot of things in the wind. Why my president is acting like he is. Zelensky asked for equipment in the very beginning of the war. You give me the equipment, I'll win the war, and you won't have to put boots on the ground. What have we done? Put sanctions on. They're long-term. They wanted airplanes. They wouldn't let them use the airspace. The thing that's killing the Ukraine people is coming from the air. But we won't give him the right equipment. Well, they got excuses. They got more excuses by president than alcoholics why I don't go to work. So I'm trying to bring it to the American people's attention. If I was president, the first thing I would do is give Putin an ultimatum. And when Putin lost the war, the first thing I'd do is go to Russia and sit down. Say, look, this fighting between the United States has been going on for years. We need to get along and be productive together and work at the economy in a uniform way. For Russia to gain more border, it has proven nothing but a failure. We need Putin, we need Russia, the United States, and the people rest of Russia. We all need to work together. We'll all be better off. And you think what we could do if we all work together and quit spending trillions of dollars on military equipment? Don't make sense. And the reason I would go to Russia, I would tell Russian, I said, look, your people are more adjusted to the way the people live west of you than how the people live in China. So I think it would be a great mistake to not work with Russia and let them get in bed with China. I think that would be a mistake for Russia and a big mistake for that people west of Russia in that part of the world. Now that's what I would do with president. If I was president, I'd say, get this war over with, make sure Putin don't win the war, and go to Russia and say, look, we'll all be better off if we get along. And Russia has got a lot of smart people. The only thing about Russia, they've been ruled with dictators for so long, they tried to go too fast, and the oligarchs took it all away, them and Putin. So that when they tore the wall down, they tried to change, but they tried to change too fast. So we need to go at a little slower pace, but we work together, we can all be very productive, and the world will be better off. The United States, and well, the whole world. There's no sense of us fighting when we should be getting along. Now, I'll tell you a story of my own little life. I had a little company, and I was doing good, and it's starting out, and I had some competitors, and I said, boy, I'm gonna run them all out of business. One of the guys in the office said, don't be so damn greedy. Said, them people, you're friends. Your competitor, all you be your best friends. And I'm going to tell you, that was the best advice I ever got. And he was right. And that's just what I would tell Russia and all these other countries. That we ought to be friends. Don't be greedy. It's hard enough to govern one country, let alone all the countries around you. Don't make sense. So that would be my object on Ukraine. Make sure that Russia don't win the war. The first thing I do was sit down in Russia and say, whatever we got to do, be friends. We got to quit worrying about the past. The United States is guilty, as Putin is. George Bush Jr. done the same thing in Iraq that Putin is doing in Ukraine. So the United States has got a lot of work, a lot of cleaning up to do. So does Russia, but we work together and quit all this damn fighting and wasting all of our assets and energy on war equipment. It's insane. None of the people of Russia have been at anything for going into Ukraine. And the United States has been billions of dollars that could have been put up to better defend itself against China. But no, we got weak leaders. I'll have to say that. We needed, that's one thing we need in the United States, a good, strong leader. I'm not bragging on anything we got at the moment. I hope we do better this next election. But if I was president, that's what I would do. Now, I hope you can use this advice. The only thing about it, if I was good enough to be president, I'm too damn old. But I'm going to just give you some good ideas on how to judge the opponents coming up. But I'm going to answer all these questions and a few more. It's time somebody gets to the truth of the matter and gives the American people and the rest of the world the truth. If we all stuck with the truth, this wouldn't have happened. If we all knew right from wrong, it wouldn't happen. I'm going to put this down to start with since I'm going to be president. Here's how I think. I've said it before. A good deal is when all parties benefit. But there's a flaw in that statement. You can't be fair with everybody with different needs. Somebody's going to lose, and that's the way it is. I like to look, and the way I looked at, I hope I'm getting my point across the way I've judged the war in Ukraine. Get the good from the bad, get the bad from the good, give you a lot of good information to make a good, honest decision. Stand on my side of the river and judge from the middle. Now, them three things is you look at the situation and you use those three things to make a decision. You're on the right to make the right decision. Now, there's other things I think it's very important. If you're running a country, everybody has to be responsible for whatever. Everybody's got to be responsible for their actions. I guess I'll get it straight. So I've got some other ideas that I'll do in the next 19 questions, and I'll throw in a couple more that I think is important too. One of them on there that I like to discuss is abortion. It's a very hot topic right now, but it's not in the top 20. But I think it's important for the next election. So, and I'll go more into immigration. I'll go in more depth in immigration on the next video. But I'm going to try to give you, and I'm not the best person to speak and talk to you about, but the only thing I got an advantage, I'm 83 years old. I was born in 45, right in the middle of the war, right at the end of the war. And I know what it is to do without and live on rations. You got to get a slip to buy tars or slip to buy shoes. You didn't get what you want. You had to get in line and wait to get something because they're spending all their time and money on making war equipment. So that gives me a better perspective than the people that was born in, say, 45, 50 and up. But I'll give you another example right there, how things change so fast and why we have a different look in the different generations. My dad didn't have a car until I would say 47. I was probably 7 or 10 years old, I don't remember. He had in his whole life, he hadn't had a car. And a lot of people in my neighborhood didn't have a car. I want to show you how fast it changed. At the time I was 17, I had my car and it was paid for. I drove it to school and I paid for it myself. I'm just telling you, it's hard to realize how bad it was during the war. And I'd like to bring it to the American people's attention. If they ain't careful, they're going to experience this one of these days. So it's time to get serious and pay a little more attention to what's going on in the world, or you will be the next Ukraine.